You're here kicking it with Brother Smalls, and I am here in Austin, Texas. I want to share with you a conversation I had with the Steve Carrington Quintet at the Parker Jazz Club in Austin, Texas. I want to recognize Chris Camaro, the owner of the club, who stayed a little later so that we could talk to these jazz giants. And so I'm thankful to him. I also want to recognize the Texas Jazz Society that seeks to promote and preserve jazz and the tradition of jazz by performances, clinics, and master classes. It was an amazing experience. So if you can get to see the Steve Carrington Quintet, please do so. It was an amazing time. I'm going to introduce so that you recognize the people that I had an opportunity to speak to. Bass player and legend, John Lee. Pianist, jazz pianist, just Google the name, please. Cyrus Chestnut, an amazing time, an amazing player, amazing person. And we got to also speak to no other than Freddie Hendrix, trumpet player and flugelhorn player. And I mean, the range is crazy. It's just sick, right? And then to top it off, we had a drummer, and not only any drummer, but no other than Christopher Brown. So we had all of them. And wait, hold up. Don't let me forget the man who brought everybody together, Mr. Steve Carrington, saxophone player and Iwi player. I mean, it was just dynamic. And so I want to say thank you to all of them, because after show after show and traveling, they were gracious enough to sit down with me for a little bit. Y'all check it out.
A couple of questions for these guys. First, how's it feel to play before a live audience? I know with COVID and everything, it's been a while since you've been able to play in front of a live audience. How is it now playing in front of a live audience?
It feels good. It feels, we're slowly but surely getting back to normal again. It's not at a 100% rate that we was at, but we're slowly moving towards there. Every now and then, we're hitting some resistance, because it's, the COVID is still out there, it's still lurking. Some people don't believe that to be true, but it is. It's alive and well, and we're doing the best that we can to keep things moving forward, to progress.
Yeah, there's something to be said about having people and have the fellowship of spirit and the energy. We send it out, the audience receives it. They send us back energy, so it's a two-way thing. So the past 18 months, we were blessed to have the opportunity to do some things live stream. But I think in a sense it made us great studio musicians. Because the thing about it is, when you're in the studio, you're trying to bring all of that energy, being live, and it's a different thing when the only thing you're playing for is microphones and maybe people. Right. And so we've gotten accustomed to that. But when you actually have people sending you energy, and you send stuff out and then it comes back. Right. That's something very special. And for myself personally, once again, it's taught me not to take certain things, not to take things for granted. The opportunity just to be able to operate your gift and just be able to do something to affect the world in a beautiful way.
Anybody else?
Yeah, to double down on what Cyrus is saying, the great thing about having people in the audience is the biofeedback. Meaning, to me, playing jazz music is it's high level moment to moment decision making. There's all types of decision making that are being made all the time, and so there's things that I play where I'm getting feedback from the other musicians, and that gives me an indication as to like I should keep doing this or I should stop doing this, and the audience as well. So that's so a lot of the choices I make, I'm triangulating what I'm getting from the feedback from the other musicians, and also how the audience is also receiving it as well. And so the more intel I can get, the better I'm able to make an informed decision in the moment. Because it's all about being appropriate to the moment, right? Situational awareness.
Yeah, most people don't realize that, the importance of the audience is like food for us. We're playing for them. We're trying to tell a story and project positive energy to them to uplift them and to have them walk away from a performance feeling better than they did when they walked in. And Art Blakey, says that music washes away the dust of everyday life, and that's so true. This is what we're trying to accomplish. But most people don't realize that, at least the audience doesn't realize that we need them. We need them to be there to make us play better. The oohs and the ahs and the yes and the go on, show yourself. All of
off of their enthusiasm.
We're feeding off of that. That makes us play better.
The more vocal they are, the more it empowers us.
And that's what makes them like food for us. It's literal energy that's making us play better.
And the fact is that we're energized as well. I brought a judge friend of mine to the show, and in each area of our lives, we can, strive to be excellent. But again, when you see excellence, it encourages you. It encourages you to be excellent in whatever you do. So I definitely, appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. Steve, I wanted to, again, it's, Steve Carrington Quintet. How did you guys? We're gonna answer that question, but how did you guys kind of come together?
Well, okay, so I'll start with Cyrus, because I've known him the longest. Cyrus and I met, let's say 20 years ago, Cyrus, 30 years ago? Something like that.
Let's just say, when we first met, we ain't had no gray hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Who was in office at the time? Who was the president at the time?
Cyrus, we're both from Baltimore. So, I won't go through the whole story, but he's the first one. But there was a connection immediately, musically, because actually we met over the phone. Cyrus, another friend of mine who's a drummer, a friend of ours, pocket drummer. You know pocket, people play good pocket. Yeah, well, Pinky played good pocket. But Pinky was like, Steve, I got to introduce you to Cyrus, yada, yada, yada. I was like, okay. So he calls, this is when three-way phones just started. When they just started having three-way calls on a regular phone, wasn't these out yet, right? So I'm in the house, and I only had a soprano because somebody stole my tenor at the time. So I only had a soprano sax, a little Borgani, right? And Cyrus said, well, play something over the phone. And we on a three-way. So I played, and he was like, And then he said, say, bro, just like you talk now. Say, bro. You gotta listen, right? Say, bro, you play tenor by chance? And I said, yeah, how you know? He said, because I kept playing the lower part of the soprano, which is the upper part of the tenor. So I was like, dang, this is a serious guy. So then he told Pinky, hey, Pink, bring him out the house. Told Pinky to bring me out the house, and then the rest is history. We've been, forever. Then the next one, actually in sequence, it would be actually Chris. Right. I heard about Freddie a long time. I seen John, and I knew John from seeing him. But Chris was the one that I was hanging around, because actually Chris and I both were in the military. So I met Chris, but then later on, just recently, some years, Freddie and I got close. John and I got close. Bring me to John. John mixed my records. I heard that he does So I already wanted him to produce it. Because because Freddie was telling me, you know, a couple other cats, and I was like, well, I want John to do it. So I told John the next record, I wanted him there, I wanted him there. The experience, you can't never, ever trade anything in terms of someone's experience. They're going to give it to you. They're going to give it to you.
You guys have played with, you name it. I mean, you've played with luminaries, R&B and jazz, and you know. But when you decide to say, "Hey, I want to work with this person. I want to work with that person," what's that process about? Just that that this person plays well? Is it an energy? Is it what they bring? How do you? Again, this is your quick. Why did you bring these folks together?
Well, first of all, I love them all. So there's an affinity for each and every one of them. Right? I will go. Hey, look, I'm gonna tell you straight up. And this is like from East Baltimore. You can't say something wrong to John in front of me. Don't do it. You couldn't say something wrong about Freddie in front of me. You can't do, or Cyrus. Same thing. Don't do that. Right? So first, I just loved them. Right? And it's easier to play because now I'm listening to them. Right? I'm at a different place. I'm not thinking like, okay, well, it's John. John trying to do this or something like that. But I'm thinking, how can I actually compliment John, as well as being a saxophone player, and make sure John is one big thing, right? That's how I choose who I'm going to play, stay. There is an affinity. There's something that grows with you, right? So, I mean, I can't say for the rest of them. There's people that you play with, right? And you can play a couple gigs with, things like this. And but there is some musical kinship here. That's another thing. When I play with Freddie, I play with other trumpet players, right? I told Freddie, what I tell you, Freddie? I said, it's it for me. I'm good now. That's what I said. I'm good now. I don't have to, like, when it comes to my music, I'm good now. So I've played with other cats. Josh, I had them on record. Yeah. But I found the sound. Now, this is the sound I've been looking for. Now I can grow. Now I can move with develop the sound and the heart and the spirit of it. So once I do it, if it's for me, you'll see me wear the same shoes. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not gonna mess with it like that. I'm not saying you can't play with other people, but there's a special thing here.
You try to find people that you connect with.
Yeah.
Once you connect with them, there's kindred space, that kindred spirit. You speak relatively the same language. You understand each other where they are.
Yeah.
And so it's like you come together in familiar territory. Although we come from different places and all, but there's still common ground. I guess
That's right.
Once you find common ground, then you just move together.
Yeah.
Move together.
Is that the same for you, John?
Yeah, I mean, there's different iterations of that, and the ultimate being, if you have a band where everyone loves each other, that's the ultimate power.
Yeah.
Because you support each other. That's a power into itself, but that's not easy to do. You can at least start at the level where everyone likes each other and wants to play together. But to me, that's the most important thing. Everyone gets along. And I heard a guy say one time, you got one bad seed, it's like a cancer. Mm-hmm. It spreads, and But I've been lucky last year. We're mainly playing on that love level. Everyone's got each other's back. One guy's a little falling down a little, everyone reaches to pick him up, get him stronger. Another guy, somebody's out of line, everyone gets together with him and straightens him out. And there's a mutual respect, so the ego's not involved, and you know how men can be.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's very, and all of us are different ages. I'm the oldest in this little group, and I guess Chris, you're probably the youngest, so.
Yeah. Or maybe. Yeah, I was going to say it's really the art of relationship building, right?
Yeah.
And there was an experience I had years ago playing with Branford that where like it was one of those like those success principles that really came forward in my brain. And you know, he's a guy that I've always had up here since I was a kid, and I'm playing with him and I'm going, I can't believe it's actually happening, right? But there's something that I didn't do before we started playing that occurred to me while I was playing. I go, oh, that's a lesson. And this is my take. I had to take away. I thought to myself, don't forget this because you need to pass this on to other people. And I call it bridging the gap. So when you play with someone like, say, Cyrus Chestnut, he's another one of these guys that when I was a kid growing up, I had him up here. And so the first step to do is to bridge the gap by creating a connection, having a conversation about anything that has nothing to do with what you're about to do, just so there's some kind of relational glue. Because if that glue doesn't exist, then the only thing you have to do the math on the value of this is how I play. And if I don't sound good to you, by definition, you don't really have a reason to like me. Right? This happens in jam sessions all the time where you go, ooh, you sound good. And then I go but have a conversation with you. And I go, where are you from? That's not a music question. But if you don't sound good, guys are like, all right. And so bridging the gap, what it does, it creates a blanket of forgiveness on the bandstand. That's really what you want. And so that way you can take chances, and if you make a mistake, you're not going to get fired or people are going to hate you for the rest of your life. I need to be able to feel free to be myself. Because imagine if you're a child and you don't feel comfortable about making mistakes in front of your parents. That closes you up, and then that manifests itself in a really negative way going forward for that child. So, you know, this is, to me, again, the idea of this love thing is really about creating a blanket of forgiveness on the bandstand. Because at that point, then everything's upside.
Good stuff. Freddie, do you want to add anything?
It's an interesting point that he said, bridging the gap, because that also goes in tune with what John was saying, which is that, you know, the love thing is not always necessarily a given. You know, and specifically where John is coming from and where the rest of us are coming from, for that matter, you know, we learn from the upper echelon of players like Dizzy Gillespie, because Dizzy was all about love, and everything that he brought to the table, people flock to it. We come to it like, you know, putting bird feed down for birds to come and capture the feed. When he sat down at the piano, people gathered around, you know. So he brought people together. He went abroad. He studied different cultures and things of that sort, and to show that music is universal. It's not just one place. It's all over the world. And these concepts, John got to absorb that. And so as Dizzy passed on, or transcended rather, John has now become the forefather of that, and he's continuing the tradition of bringing the best of the best around to continue that legacy of love and high spirituality. And when we have somebody that we like, but we don't necessarily love, then they kind of get weeded out of the source, because we're trying to come from a stronger point in the music, which is that, you know, there's no vibes in what we do. It always has to be love in the air. When it starts to become too much of a I as opposed to a we thing, then that's not like where we're coming from, and that's not what the music represents either. So it's very interesting that he made that point, you know, because sometimes the opportunity doesn't always come. You might play with somebody and you say, they sound good, and then you get to talking to them and you say, I don't know if this is somebody that I necessarily want to mess with. So,
You know, integrity is so important, and I'm so glad to hear that, because I felt it personally. I felt it, you know, just listening. and I was kind of like shaking my head because, you know, this is my first time. This is my first time hearing all of you. But I was just, it was almost like eating an amazing meal, or it was just like an experience, and I'm just shaking my head like, man, you know.
You know, the reality of this situation right here, what you heard tonight, we three been playing. I've been playing with Cyrus for many, many years. Freddie for a good number of years now. Steve for just the last year a lot. This is only the third time Chris played with us.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
it gets better every night. He's falling in.
Yeah.
But we try to come from love, and if there's something that we need that the new guy's not, then we try to work him in with love, not with in a critical type of situation, because it's all love is the most powerful emotion on earth. And if it's a power too. If you use that, there's only two emotions. Everything, love and fear. Everything comes from those two. Unfortunately, on this planet, a lot's coming from the fear side. Everything negative. But if you have a band where everyone loves each other. No, it might not be the best players in the world, but collectively they're gonna kick ass, because that's a power. It's just a power, you know.
And that's the strongest thing. That's a very
Like
strong
a-
word. Collective. You can't. God made no man an island. No man is an island. That's not how Creator made mankind. He made mankind to lean on one another, to love one another. You can do more together than you can alone, anytime. 1% of 100 people's efforts is always stronger than 100% of one person's effort. Always.
Wow. I mean, you guys are tremendous. I'm just so thankful for your time. And I want to, I could kind of talk to you about the music, what the music means to you. But I heard love, I heard, I wanted to ask you about jazz healer, what that means.
Love.
Means love.
The older you get, and if you're on the right path, everything's about love.
Yep.
That's the only thing, anything. That's what you strive for in everything.
That is the truth. Actually, that is
Trying
the
to
ultimate
eliminate
truth.
everything
Yeah.
that's not love
Yeah.
out of your psyche. Just be focused on the moment. And yeah.
Wow.
I could go on hours of stories of this that relate to this, but we don't have that.
No, I
would see Dizzy take a sad musician sometime, put his arm around him, say, "You sound good, man. You got to practice. You got to work at it." Instead of encourage that person on to. I saw him use that power so much with people.
And other great masters like Dizzy, they also
Yeah.
did the same thing. It's a tradition. The real true masters, they treat you like you're their equal, even when you're not.
That's real. That's real, actually.
Long before I got to this stage, I've had great jazz masters embrace me, and the same for them. We can say this for all of us. The real great ones, when they see potential, they harness it, they nurture it, they plant a seed. Even if you don't go on, with your musical journey, some of us are not as fortunate as John, and John was fortunate and got to spend 10 years with Dizzy. It's not always like that. It comes in different ways. Sometimes you might get blessed, and your blessing might be to play with a specific jazz master once every 10 years, or do a tour. And that tour, you do a quick little tour, and then you don't see a guy for another 5-10 years, and then all of a sudden the phone rings again. It goes like that too. It doesn't mean that they don't love you or that you're out of sight, out of mind. It just means that, their journey is just taking different paths, but they find a way to keep you connected.
It's that what John said about love and fear. I've worked with people who love and fear as well, and they didn't provide a collective, and it's it's one of those things, even as an instructor, I had the privilege of having Steve as a student, and I thought as a professor, I got more out of the class than I thought I gave them. I came with an experience, I came with, those types of things, but just the dynamic in the classroom, everyone was bringing, their energy, bringing their intellect and their knowledge and their heart to it. I always felt like I'm getting over right now, because I would always get out of the class and just feel so much more. It would help me so many ways, and so to be able when you give, you get. You can't. It doesn't run out. It
Right.
doesn't run out.
Right.
This music is, some people, I think they really miss a lot of it. They just think just about the notes. This music is about, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's culture.
Yeah.
Well said.
So,
If you embrace it like that, which is what.
to have the opportunity to be around people who have walked with the greatest of the great, and they just simply put their arm around and say, "Hey, young blood, you keep on keeping on."
Yeah.
Right.
And you pay that forward.
Yeah.
Like, he was never around Dizzy, but it must feel like it by now, because you've heard so much from me.
Of course.
That, so I'm trying to pass that on. I was telling Chris some stuff about drums that Dizzy told me that I'm sure is, and we both all have those experiences like that. So to pay it forward like that and carry on these traditions, it's like there's something very spiritual and mystical
you
about
learn
that.
something low from everyone, where you go through. I remember the priceless times just sitting with Moody, and a lot of the lessons that you learned wasn't even on the band's.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity of doing this one tour with 100 Goldfingers, being around like 10 pianists, 10 of the greatest jazz
Including
pianists in the
himself, so
world.
it was 9. He was the 10th. I tell you where 100 comes from, 100.
And it had an incredible rhythm section, but the lessons, by far, that was like,
You were the
for
young
me,
man on that one.
Yeah, I was the lessons, not necessarily, sometimes they were on at the piano, but a lot of times they were driving on the bus, around on the bus, going from city to city, and being in the moment. I can't tell you a story about something like, oh, wow, or else, you hear them talk, and then when you hear them play, it's just a culmination of the story that they told you. And so, for anyone who thinks it's just about playing, a flat 7 or a flat 5 or a sharp 9, because theoretically that's what it's been assigned, there's more to it than that. There's more to it than that. And when you are able to be in a situation with people who can speak theoretically, but they also, they also give you life. They give you a reason for what they do. And so, as you get that, then you just try to be a conduit and pass it on. Because, once again, this is culture. It's heritage, man. It goes from generation to generation for those who really wish to seek the truth about what this is.
We are very blessed, man.
Truly.
We are very blessed, man. This tradition and this life, it's and the older you get, the more you see that and how blessed we are, and wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, I want to say thank you. This has been amazing, and there's so much more to ask. There's so much more to hear.
We can continue in the hotel.
Yeah,
I know. We're gonna have to.
Be here for another 6 months talking about it.
Yeah, I'm just telling you.
For sure.
I guess this is going to be part one.
Yeah.
Let's call this part one.
Yeah.
And we'll circle back.
Now, wasn't that great? No, really. No, really, really. That was great. It felt great. It felt great to be amongst those beautiful people. The music was vibrant. The music was just. If I could look at and film all the people in the audience and their facial expressions, it was just an amazing time. So I'm excited because I got them to say, hey, this is just part one. So I'm looking forward to part 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm looking forward to speaking with them again. I want to thank again Chris Kimura of the Parker Jazz Club here in Austin, Texas. When you're in Austin, you got to come check out the Parker Jazz Club. It's a really nice setup for music. It really, really is. Also, the Texas Jazz Society promoting and pushing the tradition of jazz music with all that they do. Finally, I want to thank Steve Carrington and the Steve Carrington Quintet. Each and every one of them, are amazing people. Again, John Lee, Cyrus, Chestnut, Freddie, Hendrix, Christopher Brown, and no other than Steve Carrington. I had an amazing time. And then I want to thank you. I want to thank you for tuning in. Remember to share, like, comment, and subscribe. I also want to just circle back and say, please support, please purchase, please go see these folks. They're excellent. It's something about being able to witness greatness, to be able to witness excellence. So I encourage you, when you get this, if you can get this, go see these guys. Please do it. All right? Until the next time, I'm signing off. This is your brother Smalls. Peace.
Informs, uplifts, and elevates, and inspires, takes you higher. Say it again.